Well, hi friends. I hope you are surviving this long Lent. Oh my goodness, is it ever going to end? Father Brian said last week that we ought to think of this time of social distancing not as a time of spiritual distancing, but rather a time of retreat, a time maybe to focus on our relationship with God a little bit more. If we can just let go of some of the anxiety and dig a little bit deeper into our prayer life, who knows what fruits are waiting to be born there. So with that in mind, the Jesuit Community of Belize is starting today a daily video reflection on the Gospel of the Day. Every day you can go to St. Martin's Facebook page or to our YouTube channel, a chance for you to maybe get a little bit of spiritual fruit during this time of quarantine. So with that in mind, and without further ado, here is our first reflection, Monday, the 5th week of Lent. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. John. Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, but early in the morning he arrived again in the temple area, and all the people started coming to him. And he sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery and made her stand in the middle. They said to him, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of adultery. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such a woman. So what do you say?" They said this to test him, so that they could have some charge to bring against him. Jesus bent down and began to write on the ground with his finger. But when they continued asking him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let the one among you without sin be the first to cast a stone at her." Again he bent down and wrote on the ground. And in response they went away one by one, beginning with the elders. So when he was left alone with the woman before him. Jesus straightened up and said to her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" She replied, "No one, sir." Then Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on do not sin anymore." The Gospel of the Lord. You can almost imagine this scene in the big temple of Jerusalem. It's bustling with people as it was every day. No social distancing going on there. And the big religious guys, the scribes and the Pharisees, the big men at the temple, they drag this poor woman in who has been caught in adultery, and they make a big circle around her. And then they say to Jesus, "This woman was caught in the very act of adultery, and the law says that we are supposed to stone her. So what should we do?" Well, almost immediately you can see that there's something sketchy going on here, right? This woman was caught in the very act of adultery, so where's the man? According to the Mosaic law, it wasn't just the woman that was supposed to be stoned to death, but the man and the woman, and they haven't brought him in. Very quickly we see where the hearts of the scribes and Pharisees are. They're not interested in justice. They're not interested in following the law. No, they're interested in pouring shame on this woman so that they can shame Jesus. This poor woman who has already gone through a lot and is feeling a lot of shame and a lot of guilt, I'm sure. They want to pile more shame on her instead of offering her mercy as Jesus does. And Jesus very quickly sees what's going on. He writes something in the sand. We don't know what. Maybe he's writing their sins. But in any case, Jesus stands up and he says, "Let those who are without sin cast the first stone." And then all the men start leaving because every one of them knows that they have something that they are not happy about. They have something in their hearts that they have done that they're not very proud of, right? And it's just Jesus and the woman, and Jesus says, "I don't condemn you. Go and sin no more." One of the first phrases I learned in Belizean Creole was, "If da no so, da nearly so." And we're a country that likes to, gossip a little bit. Did you hear what she did? Did you hear what he did? But we have two goals in life, right? To get ourselves to heaven and to help other people get to heaven. And I think sometimes we have to stop and ask, are our words and our actions helping other people do that? Or maybe are we taking one sin and then adding another sin on top of that, the sin of judgment? "Judge not, lest ye be judged. Let he who among you is without sin cast the first stone." And what Jesus is really saying is, sisters and brothers, look, forget about what others are doing. That is of no concern to you. What you are doing, what is in your own heart, that's what you should be looking at. And we've all got stuff there that we need to take a look at. Maybe it's the attitude of judgment. Maybe we're sitting in judgment or talking about or gossiping about other people too much. So Lord, help us look inward this Lenten season and see what are the attitudes that we need to let go of. Be merciful as your Heavenly Father is merciful.